let's say we have some table we want to move. And let's say team blue comes along. We'll just say there's two teams or multiple teams. Let's say team 2 comes along and one of the members says he wants to push it to the right, and he says 5 pounds. Or he has 5 pounds of force to add to the system. And then a smaller team blue team, we'll call him Mr. Light Blue, he only has 3 pounds of force, but he agrees it should go to the right. Well, what we'll find is we'll get a total force, or a force total, of, well, 5 plus 3. They're both going to the right, so they're both positive x, is 8 pounds to the right. Now, I want to be clear here. This is not talking about how far it's moving. It might not be moving at all. We don't know if the table is moving. We just know what force is being applied to it in what direction. For all we know, these forces could be canceled out by force of friction or some other reactionary force. And the total sum of all forces might be 0. It might be in static equilibrium. We're just looking at the applied forces. With that, let's look at another example. Let's look at a very similar example, the exact same things. But let's say team green comes along. Let's say team green decides, and we're going to make the forces the right size. We're going to say team green comes along, he wants to push it to the left, or this member of team green, I should say, with 4 pounds of force. And, well, what would be our force total in this example? Well, we write it out. We say force total. Well, if you look at it, it's still going to the right because we've got 2 going to the right. These 2 add up to 8. And this one is negative 4. It's going the opposite direction, so it's a negative. And so it's basically 8 minus 4, which is 4, so it's still going 4 to the right in this example. So now that we're kind of getting it, let's go ahead and make this a little bit more challenging. Let's retake this example here. Let's add to it again. Let's say Team Green's coming along, and another member of Team Green says, well, yeah, I agree. We should move it to the left, not the right. And so he adds just as much force. He adds 4 pounds of force as well. And let's say Team Orange comes out of nowhere and says, well, you know, I'm the smallest guy in the room, but I think it should move downward, not to the left or the right. And we'll give him 1 pound of force. And I did my best to differentiate 1 from L and 1 in pounds. But if we look, we might notice that the sum of all forces in the x direction, all of my x forces cancel out. They're all 0. 5 plus 3 is 8. 4 plus 4 is 8. These are going to the right. These are going to the left. It's basically 8 minus 8 is 0. But that doesn't mean it doesn't move at all. That doesn't mean the force total is 0 because there's a force in the y direction. So we'll say force total in this time is going downward, and it's 1 pound. And again, I did my best to differentiate the number 1 and the letter L. But let's go ahead and look at it one more time. Let's do one more example. Let's say this time there was some mutiny. So this time we have some mutiny. We'll say that this light blue decided he wanted to join Team Orange. He was with the underdog. And so we can redraw, and we could say, well, now he wants to push downward as well with 3 pounds of force. So now if you look at it, we have a sum of all forces in both directions. We have a sum of all forces in the x direction. Well, what is that? What is our, well, let's not call it the sum of all forces. Let's call it the force total in the x direction. Well, the force total in the x direction, we add up all our forces. So really it's a sum of all, but it's 4 and 4. It's 8 going to the left and 5 going to the right. So we end up with, what, 3 pounds of force going to the left. And the force total in the y direction, well, there's 2 forces going in the y direction, but they're both going down. And so it's 1 plus 3 equals 4 downward, 4 pounds. So it's going down and to the left, and we get some final resultant force going down and to the left. And we'll calculate what that is in the next video.